recording?
Yeah.
Alright. Hello, I am Brian Key, and I am here to tell you about executions and the capital punishment, more specifically death penalties. Now, most of you are pretty familiar with what, or at least have heard of death penalties from movies, television, or any other forms of media. But capital punishment has existed way longer than TV has. Did you know in places like Europe during the Middle Ages, people would be strung upside down between two trees and then virtually sawed in half, starting between the legs. Since then, executions in some places have gotten a little more humane. In this speech, I will explain what is capital punishment, how it began, how it has changed and decreased over the years. So what is the death penalty? For those who are still unaware, the death penalty, also known as capital punishment, is used both today as well as in ancient times in order to punish severe or large number of offenses. So what is the death? No, the death penalty is one of the most severe forms of corporal punishments that the court of law can enforce. The sentence that someone be punished in such a manner is referred to as a death sentence, whereas the act of carrying out the sentence is known as an execution. Law enforcement officials will kill or put to death the offender who is being punished by one of the several means of punishment allowed. Some of the first established death penalty laws were in the 18th century BC, when according to the Code of King Hammurabi of Babylon, there was a codification of death penalty for about 25 different crimes. Around the 14th century BC, there is evidence of the death penalty. This is what's known as the Hiette Code, according to which there must be a death punishment for a crime of any kind at all. In those early days, death penalty meant that the criminal would be either hanged to death, drowned, burned alive, or impaled by a sharp object. It was during the 10th century AD in Britain that death by hanging became more and more popular. And this became the most favored method of which a criminal of any kind can be put to death under law. During those early years of the 19th century, many states in America and Great Britain reduced the number of cases of death penalty and started the method of housing the criminals at the expense of the state by building state penitentiaries. Pennsylvania, for example, managed to do away with public executions in the 19th century, and instead resorted to more private hangings of other forms of punishment in the various correctional facilities that have been built for this very purpose. Now, since then, the death penalty in America has only grew in rate. According to the PEW Research Center, the amount of executions peaked in 1999 with 99 total executions around the country. After that year, the rate decreased rapidly, with many states abolishing the death penalty. The death penalty probably sounds pretty harsh, but let me let you into the story. Ted Bundy was an infamous serial killer. He killed many women and even a 12-year-old kid. Now you have to ask yourself, audience, does a man like that deserve that?
A 12-year-old kid?
Yes.
I think he does.
Yes, I think so too.
Most definitely.
What do you think?
I think so too.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know because he could change. So I'm back and forth.
Yeah, he could repent, but I say definitely yes.
The varying of actions is an example of what the entire country thinks on the matter. Regardless of your answer, the situation of ethics has been a major problem of the death penalty. Many people have mixed opinions of the topic and which has probably stopped Congress from issuing a national abolishment. Now that I've come to a close, I hope that I have informed you about capital punishment. Now, does anyone have any questions?
You said the methods became more humane, but it's an execution. How can it be more humane?
Well, as stated before, people literally got hung between two trees and sawed in half. That's not the most humane thing ever, right?
Right.
So it became more humane by most countries using lethal injections, most people using electrocution. Those are more humane ways than sawing, yourself in half with a saw.
You showed that on that slide. That was what you just showed us, some of the ways that it's done.
If no one has any further questions, I am Brian Keefe, and thank you for your time.
You got